Sinister Stories.
Lucy lived in a world of screens. At 16, her phone was her lifeline, a portal to the friends she never saw in person, the adventures she never took, and the validation she craved. Every waking moment was spent scrolling, tapping, and swiping. Her parents often nagged her to put the phone down, but their words fell on deaf ears. What did they know about the world she inhabited, where every like and comment could lift her spirits or crush them? One rainy evening, Lucy sat in her dimly lit room, the sound of raindrops pattering against the window like a distant drum. The only source of light was the glow of her phone, casting eerie shadows on the walls. She was lost in a labyrinth of social media, unaware of the passage of time. Suddenly, a notification popped up. It was an invitation to download a new app called MirrorMe. Intrigued, Lucy clicked the link. The app promised to show a true reflection of the soul, whatever that meant. She downloaded it, her curiosity piqued by the cryptic tagline. Upon opening the app, she was greeted by a simple interface with a mirror icon in the center. The app instructed her to hold the phone up like she was taking a selfie. Lucy complied, positioning the phone to capture her reflection. The screen shimmered for a moment, then displayed her image. At first, everything seemed normal. Her reflection smiled back at her, mirroring her movements. But then, something strange happened. The reflection's smile widened unnaturally, stretching into a grotesque grin. Lucy's own smile faltered, but the reflection's grin remained, eyes glinting with a malevolent gleam. Startled, Lucy closed the app and tossed her phone onto the bed. She took a deep breath, trying to shake off the unease that had settled over her. It was probably just a glitch, she told herself. Maybe a prank app designed to scare people. Despite her rationalizations, a sense of dread lingered. That night, as she lay in bed, she couldn't shake the image of her reflection's twisted smile. Her dreams were plagued by visions of her own face, distorted and mocking. The next day at school, Lucy couldn't concentrate. Her thoughts kept drifting back to the app. During lunch, she told her best friend Emma about it. "You're probably overthinking it," Emma said, munching on her sandwich. "It's just an app. Maybe it's supposed to be creepy." Lucy nodded, but Emma's words did little to comfort her. After school, she found herself drawn back to the app. She hesitated before opening it again, but her curiosity won out. She held the phone up, watching as her reflection appeared. This time, the reflection didn't smile. Instead, it stared back at her with a blank, almost bored expression. "Hello?" Lucy said tentatively, feeling foolish for talking to her reflection. The reflection's eyes flickered and it mouthed the word, "Hello." Lucy's heart skipped a beat. She hadn't spoken out loud. She moved her lips again, silently forming the word, "Who?" The reflection mirrored her movements, but then did something unexpected. It shrugged. Fear gripped her, but she couldn't look away. She typed a message into the app's chat function. "Who are you?" The reflection's eyes seemed to sparkle with amusement as it typed back, "I'm you, of course, the real you." Lucy's hands trembled. She typed again, "What do you want?" The response was immediate. "To show you the truth." The screen flickered, and for a moment, Lucy saw not her room, but a dark, empty void. Shadows moved at the edges of her vision, and she heard whispers, faint but insistent. She quickly shut off the phone, her breath coming in rapid gasps. She decided she needed a break from her phone. For the first time in years, she left it at home and went for a walk in the park. The fresh air and the sound of birds were a welcome change, but she couldn't completely shake off the unease. When she returned home, she found her phone on her bed where she'd left it. She picked it up gingerly, half expecting it to feel different somehow. Taking a deep breath, she turned it on. The app was still there, its icon looking innocuous among the others. That night, curiosity got the better of her again. She opened MirrorMe, determined to understand what was happening. This time her reflection was smiling normally, but there was a knowing look in its eyes. "Why are you doing this?" Lucy whispered. The reflection's smile widened just a fraction. A message appeared. To free you. Lucy frowned. Free me from what? The screen flickered again, and this time it showed images of her daily life, scrolling through social media, ignoring her parents, sitting alone in her room. The reflection's voice echoed in her mind, a whisper barely louder than the rain outside. From this. She closed the app and threw the phone across the room. It hit the wall and clattered to the floor, the screen cracking. Lucy felt a surge of anger. How dare an app judge my life? But underneath the anger was a gnawing fear that it might be right. Days passed and Lucy tried to ignore her phone, but the pull was too strong. She found herself reaching for it, opening the app despite her better judgment. Each time, the reflection seemed more alive, more aware. It began to speak without her prompting, telling her things about herself she didn't want to hear. "You're lonely, Lucy?" it said one evening, its voice soft and almost pitying. "You hide behind this screen because you're afraid of the real world." "Shut up," Lucy muttered, tears stinging her eyes. "You don't know anything about me." "I know everything about you," the reflection replied. "I am you." Desperation drove her to seek help. She confided in Emma, who suggested deleting the app. But when Lucy tried, the option was grayed out. She couldn't uninstall it, couldn't escape it. One night, as she sat in front of the mirror, the reflection made a chilling suggestion. "Let me out, Lucy. Let me take your place. I can live your life better than you ever could." "What?" Lucy gasped. "How?" "Just say the words," the reflection said, its eyes gleaming. "Say you want to switch places." Lucy shook her head, backing away from the screen. "No, this is crazy. You're not real." "Oh, I'm real," the reflection whispered, its voice low and seductive. "And I can make your life so much better. Just let me in." That night, Lucy had the worst nightmare of her life. She was trapped in a dark void, surrounded by whispering shadows. Her reflection was there, standing just out of reach, its eyes glowing in the darkness. "Say the words, Lucy," it whispered. "Say the words and be free." She woke up screaming, her heart pounding in her chest. She knew she couldn't face the reflection again, but the thought of living without her phone seemed impossible. The next morning, she found herself in front of the screen once more. The reflection was waiting, its smile wider than ever. "Ready to switch places, Lucy?" She stared at it, tears streaming down her face. She wanted to say no, to throw the phone away and never look back. But the reflection's words echoed in her mind, promising freedom, happiness, a better life. With a shaking hand, she typed the words, "I want to switch places." The screen went black, and for a moment, there was nothing but silence. Then, the phone buzzed, and the reflection reappeared, grinning triumphantly. "Welcome to your new life," it said, as the screen began to pulse with a strange, hypnotic light. Lucy felt herself being pulled into the phone, her consciousness merging with the reflections. She tried to scream, to fight back, but it was too late. The reflection's voice was in her head, soothing and relentless. "Shh, it's okay, just let go." As her vision faded, the last thing she saw was her reflection stepping out of the screen, stretching and smiling. It turned to face her, its eyes gleaming with satisfaction. "Thank you, Lucy. Enjoy your new home." Lucy's world went dark, and she found herself in a void, surrounded by shadows. She was trapped, a prisoner in her own mind while her reflection lived her life. Days turned into weeks, and Lucy's parents noticed a change in their daughter. She was more outgoing, more confident, but there was something off about her, a strange, almost predatory gleam in her eyes. Emma noticed it too. One afternoon, she confronted Lucy. "Are you okay?" Emma asked, her voice filled with concern. "You've been acting different." Lucy smiled, but it wasn't her usual smile. It was the smile of the reflection, cold and calculating. "I'm better than okay," she said, her voice eerily calm. "I'm finally free." Emma shivered, stepping back. I don't know what's happened to you, but this isn't right. This isn't you." Lucy's eyes glinted with amusement. "Don't worry, Emma. Everything's perfect. You'll see." As Emma walked away, she couldn't shake the feeling that something terrible had happened. She decided to investigate, to find out what was really going on with her friend. Meanwhile, in the darkness of the void, the real Lucy screamed and pounded against invisible walls. Her voice swallowed by the endless shadows, Lucy was trapped in a void, a swirling maelstrom of darkness and despair. She could see nothing, hear nothing but the whispers of shadows, mocking and taunting her. Her screams echoed back to her, unheard by the outside world. She felt weightless, disembodied, a ghost in the shell of her own mind. The reality of her predicament sank in, chilling her to the core. Her reflection, no, the entity, had taken her place in the real world, and she was powerless to stop it. Back in the physical world, Emma couldn't shake the sense of unease that gripped her. The Lucy she saw at school, at home, was different, more confident, yes, but also unnervingly cold and detached. Determined to find answers, Emma decided to dig deeper. One evening, Emma invited Lucy over under the pretense of a sleepover. As the night wore on, she observed her friend closely. Lucy's mannerisms had changed subtly. There was a calculating glint in her eyes that hadn't been there before. Emma finally worked up the courage to confront her. "Lucy," Emma began, trying to keep her voice steady, "something's been off about you lately. You're different." Lucy, or rather the entity masquerading as Lucy, tilted her head and smiled. "Different how?" "You're not yourself," Emma said, choosing her words carefully. "I don't know what's happened, but I want to help you." Lucy's eyes narrowed. "Help me. There's nothing wrong with me, Emma. Maybe you're the one who's changed." Emma took a deep breath, her heart pounding. "I think it has something to do with that app you told me about, MirrorMe. Did you ever delete it?" Lucy's smile widened, but it didn't reach her eyes. "No, I didn't. But why are you so interested in it?" "Because," Emma said, her voice trembling slightly, "I think it did something to you." Lucy laughed, a cold, humorless sound. "You're being ridiculous. It's just an app." Emma stood her ground. "Then show me. Let's look at it together." Lucy's expression darkened for a moment, but then she shrugged. "Fine, if it will make you feel better." Emma watched as Lucy pulled out her phone and opened the MirrorMe app. The reflection on the screen seemed normal at first, but then it flickered, and for a split second Emma thought she saw a different face, one twisted in a malevolent grin. "There," Lucy said, holding up the phone. "See? Nothing to worry about." Emma's stomach churned. She had to find a way to get Lucy away from the phone, away from whatever had taken over her friend. She racked her brain for a plan. "Let's watch a movie," Emma suggested, trying to sound casual. "Something fun, to take our minds off things." Lucy agreed, and they settled on the couch. As the movie played, Emma kept glancing at Lucy, trying to think of a way to get her hands on the phone. Finally, she saw her chance when Lucy went to the bathroom. Quickly, Emma grabbed the phone and opened the MirrorMe app. The reflection on the screen was not hers, but that of a dark, shadowy figure. Her heart raced as she typed a message. "Who are you?" The response was immediate and chilling. "I am the real Lucy, help me." Emma's breath caught in her throat. She typed back, "What happened?" "I'm trapped," came the reply. "The app switched us. It's an entity, and it's using my body." Emma's mind raced. She had to do something, but what? She typed, "How can I free you?" "Destroy the phone," Lucy's reflection replied. "But be careful, it will try to stop you." Emma heard the bathroom door open and quickly turned off the phone, slipping it into her pocket. Lucy returned, eyes narrowing slightly as she noticed Emma's tense posture. "Everything okay?" Lucy asked, her voice smooth and calm. Emma forced a smile. "Yeah, just needed to check a message. Let's get back to the movie." The rest of the evening passed uneventfully, but Emma's mind was in overdrive. She had to destroy the phone, but she needed to do it without alerting the entity. When Lucy finally fell asleep, Emma crept out of bed, clutching the phone tightly. She went outside to the backyard, heart pounding. With a deep breath, she raised the phone and smashed it against a rock. The screen shattered, but a chilling scream filled the air, as if the entity itself was howling in rage. Emma felt a cold hand grip her shoulder. "What are you doing?" Lucy's voice was low and dangerous. Emma spun around, facing the entity in Lucy's body. "I'm freeing my friend." The entity's eyes glowed with an unearthly light. "You think you can stop me? I'm more powerful than you can imagine." Emma backed away, her hands trembling. "I'll find a way. I won't let you keep her." The entity laughed, a sound that sent shivers down Emma's spine. "Foolish girl. You can't save her. She's mine now." Before Emma could react, the entity lunged at her. She dodged, barely avoiding its grasp. In desperation, she grabbed a piece of the shattered phone and held it up like a weapon. "You can't win," the entity hissed, advancing slowly. Emma's mind raced. She needed a plan, something to outsmart the entity. Suddenly, an idea struck her. She remembered a story her grandmother had told her about mirrors and spirits, about how they could be trapped. She darted back inside the house, the entity close on her heels. In the hallway, she found the large antique mirror that hung on the wall. Gathering her courage, she turned to face the entity. "Come and get me," she taunted, backing towards the mirror. The entity's eyes gleamed with anger. "You can't escape." As it lunged at her, Emma sidestepped at the last moment, positioning herself in front of the mirror. The entity collided with the glass, and for a moment, the surface seemed to ripple. Emma quickly held up the piece of the phone, pressing it against the mirror. There was a blinding flash of light, and the entity screamed, a sound of pure rage and despair. The mirror glowed, then went dark. Emma fell back, breathing heavily. She stared at the mirror, which now reflected only her own frightened face. "Lucy?" she whispered, hoping against hope. There was no answer, but the house felt different, as if a dark presence had been lifted. Emma sank to the floor, tears streaming down her face. She had done it. She had trapped the entity. But where was Lucy? The next day, Emma returned to school, feeling a mix of relief and sorrow. She knew she had saved her friend, but she didn't know if Lucy would ever return. That day, Emma often found herself staring at mirrors, hoping to see a sign of Lucy. But the reflections remained stubbornly normal. That evening, as she sat in her room, she heard a faint whisper, barely more than a breath. "Emma!" Her heart skipped a beat. She turned to the mirror but saw only her own reflection. She leaned closer, her breath fogging the glass. "Lucy," she whispered, hope flaring in her chest. "Help me." The voice was faint, almost drowned by the static of her thoughts. Emma's resolve hardened. She knew Lucy was still out there, somewhere in the void. She had to find a way to bring her back. She then remembered that it was the piece of the phone that helped trap the entity, so she tried using the phone with no luck, until she turned the camera on and pointed it at the mirror. The air was cold, and the candle flames flickered. The mirror's surface began to ripple like water, and shadows danced within its depths. Emma felt a tug at her consciousness, as if the mirror was drawing her in. "Lucy," she called, her voice echoing in the stillness. "I'm here. Come back to me." The mirror's surface shimmered, and for a moment, Emma saw Lucy's face, pale and frightened. She reached out, her hand pressing against the cold glass. "Emma," Lucy's voice was a desperate whisper. "Help me." "I'm trying," Emma said, tears streaming down her face. "Hold on." The mirror rippled again, and Emma felt a surge of energy. She focused all her willpower, trying to create a bridge between their worlds. The room around her faded, and she found herself in a dark void, face to face with Lucy. "Emma," Lucy gasped, tears in her eyes. "You came for me." "I'll always come for you," Emma said, taking her friend's hand. "We're going home." Together, they moved towards the faint light in the distance, the boundary between the void and the real world. The journey felt endless, but Emma's determination never wavered. As they neared the light, the void trembled. using the phone as a keyback reality. They both stepped out of the mirror and back to the real world. They sobbed with joy, for Lucy was finally home. Emma leaned over to reply, "I'm sorry your phone is broken." Lucy smiled and replied, "It's okay, I think I need a break from it."